My gosh. Hello, everybody. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to Adobe Live Education Edition. I am Martha Bongiorno, a Community Programs Manager here at Adobe for Education, and I'm a former school librarian turned Adobe Education evangelist and community manager, where I get to champion learning and creative learning all across the world with all of you all. And today we're talking about my absolute favorite feature in Adobe Express that just does not get enough love, y'all. It just doesn't. And today we're going to be talking about the top 5 game-changing features that happened over the summer that you may have missed. But before we get into all of that, I am joined today by an incredible educator, Miss Stevie Frank. She inspires me all the time. She is a digital learning coach in Zionsville, Indiana, with over 15 years in education, a master's in literacy education, and she was just named one of EdTech Magazine's top 30 K-12 influencers to follow. So congrats, Stevie, and welcome.
Well, thank you so much. Well, I'm like, Martha, if I could just have you hang out with me all day and hype me up, like this would make my day every single day. So, hi everyone. I'm so excited to be able to join you today. It's such a pleasure to be here and to learn and be inspired. I get inspired by Martha all the time. So, thank you so much for even inviting me on. And I cannot wait to chat about one of my favorite tools in Adobe Express, which is definitely the web pages.
Of course. I feel like we just have to be hype girls for each other. That's kind of the vibe, right? When we are, because you're a digital learning coach, being a siloed person doing what you do on campus, it's important to find those people that uplift and inspire you. And hopefully we can be that for all of you today. So I know Stevie's keeping an eye on the chat for us today. I apologize. I have a million things going up and sharing my screen, so you won't see me on the chat as much. But if you are joining in today, please feel free to drop us a hi, hello, where you're coming from over in that chat, and we would love to see that. So, Stevie, are you seeing any responses? Who's joining us today?
Yeah, so I see we've got Rebecca and Anne. They're all hopping on the chat. And
Oh,
so
I
if you
love it.
are joining from anywhere else, just shoot us a chat into here. So let us know a little bit maybe about where you're joining from, your name, and just give us some info about you. I love connecting whenever it looks online. And that's one of the reasons why I love the Adobe community is I feel like we can always stay connected, even though we might not be in the same even vicinity of the areas. And so just give us a shout out on the chat. I would love to give you a shout out and say hi. So we've got Nordine who's on the chat who's saying hi from SoCal.
Oh my gosh, I love it. So, Nordine and Rebecca and Anne, welcome. We're so excited to see you. And without further ado, Stevie, are you ready to jump in?
Oh my gosh, I'm so ready to jump in. Let's do the thing,
I'm
Martha.
so let's do the thing. I love that. That needs to be like a t-shirt that we wear every time. But we're gonna jump in straight away, y'all. And if this is your very first time, just even kind of seeing Adobe Express for Education, welcome. It got a facelift over the summer. So you're coming in right at the best time. If you'll look on your screen, there are tons of tiles that you're going to see. But what's really cool is the new features that they have listened to educators and shifted into what educators are looking for, which are these 3 tabs. How do we create? How do we teach? And how do we edit super quick? And so each tab, you're going to see different features, different little tiles that will take you to different ways that you can create and express what you are learning or trying to get your students to learn super quick in an instant. Have you been in here yet, Stevie?
Oh my gosh, I'm in here all the time. So yes, I have definitely been in here. I was actually just helping a teacher today edit a PDF. And so I think that's one of those like quiet tools inside of Express that I don't think really people maximize as much is you can just edit a PDF. So if you've got that old, newsletter or back to school email or something and you're like, okay, I've got this family letter, I've got just a paper copy and you're like, how do I make the changes to make it more relevant? Then that's when you can throw it right into Adobe Express and then everything becomes editable. The text, the symbols, like everything. That has been such a huge game changer, especially for my teachers and administrative staff for sure.
I love that. That was a pro tip, y'all, and you got that for free. So you're welcome. That's under that edit tab under edit PDF. Man, Stevie, I don't know about you, but being a school librarian, and I'm sure as a digital learning coach, you work with front office staff, admin all the time. And so that's kind of why we're talking about web pages today. But that PDF pro tip, the amount of times that I wish I could have just had that, uploaded it, and just edited it in a second would have been fantastic. So let's get started. If you'll see on the screen right here, this is the brand new facelifted homepage. It's gorgeous. I just love how easy this is. I was doing some back to school sessions with my husband's teachers. He teaches eighth grade social studies, and we did like a little collaborative unit at the beginning of the year, just kind of planning out what August looks like. And they loved it. It just made it so easy to find things. So hopefully you'll be able to find build a web page. It's this green one right here. And we're going to dive in with the number one thing that has updated over the summer. And if y'all can guess what I'm going to talk about, let's drop it in that chat, because I'm sure this has been the number one ask from folks all over. I'm curious if you can figure it out. But if you have never been in web page before, it's going to pop up, and things I wish I had 10 years ago. Templates for web pages are here. That's not what we're going to be talking about. But if you're new to this, there are templates here. I'm going to select the book report one just to kind of make it easy on us a little bit, Stevie. I'm going to click that select button. And oh my gosh, the
I
template.
know. I was like, as soon as you clicked into it, I was like, the aesthetic of this and just like the flow of it, that is where I just like, I love relying on the experts and the engineers inside of Expresses, because they're like, we've done the heavy lift of trying to make it look good. You've just got to go in with your amazing content that you have. And so then that makes that more just so much better. But I just looked at that and I'm like, oh, it's just so clean. It's crisp. I don't know. I'm here for that template. It's one of my faves.
So I don't know if you've had experience with this, but oftentimes when you're teaching students, even teachers, even ourselves, right? We are so scared to even start on something creative because you stare at a blank page, especially something that feels overwhelming, like a web page, and you see a blank one and it feels overwhelming. And you just want to shut your laptop and walk off because you're like, that just feels like way too much. It's like my 10-year-old when I ask him to clean his room and it's just a hot mess express in there. And he's like, I don't know how to start. Well, you start in a corner, and you kind of work your way. But it's like that with this web page template. I love that it's already there for you. You don't feel so overwhelmed because you have something to start with. And so we're going to do a little book report, Stevie.
Oh, I'm so excited. I can't
Have
wait.
I don't know if you can see, I read all the time. I love a good fantasy novel, but I'm gonna let you choose, Stevie. What book do you think we should do? What's something that you think everybody's read before?
Well, one of my favorite books that I loved, so I'm a former humanities teacher in fifth grade, and one of my favorite all-time books that I love reading to start the year off is Stargirl by Jerry Spinelli.
Oh, that's a good
It's
one.
such a good one because I feel like part of Stargirl's identity, like and I'm spoiler alert here. So if you're like, I haven't read the book, Stevie, like be quiet. You mute me right now, okay? Okay. So, spoiler alert on that is she starts to like shed part of her identity because she's trying to fit in with others. And then
Mm.
she realized she becomes Susan. And then all of the kids are like, oh, I don't like Susan. Like they want her to be her and they want her to be their true self. And so, whenever you can get middle schoolers like championing for that, I'm like,
Mhm.
that is definitely what I'm here for. So, we've got Stargirl by Jerry Spinelli, which is one of my favorite novels. And I have somebody, I've got Lisa in the chat who said new themes question mark. So she's like, is that what we're going to be talking
Ooh.
about? So definitely hang on there for a little bit, Lisa. We'll
Ooh.
give you an update.
That's a good guess. We're going to get to that. But we're going to start with Stargirl, and we'll come back to themes in just a second. But the number one request that I've heard is being able to add generative AI images directly into web pages. If this is your first time with web pages, welcome. everything's here for you now. For those of us that are like, we've been in it for a minute, we're just like living for this update because up until now, you've had to go into your stuff. So if I click this plus button, there's a couple different options that pop up for web pages. I can add or upload my own photos. I can add my own text. Buttons are like links to different items. GIFs you may or may not have turned on for your district depending on your privacy settings. But video, you can link to videos you create in product or YouTube videos. But the your stuff section is where I would have to go. So I was making some portraits earlier and I would have to go in here and add in my little generative AI image that I would have created outside of the web page. But now I don't have to do that.
No, she doesn't.
I don't have to do that no more. So I'm going to go up to this like overview image and Stargirl by Stevie and Martha. We're going to pretend we read it together. We did a buddy read, which honestly, how fun is that doing buddy reads?
So
I'm going to go to replace and I could upload an image. I could look for thousands of stock photos we have, or now I can create my own. Right here where it says generate image, it's going to pop up and it's going to give me all these options now that you get in the all-in-one editor in the normal way that we would have gone in to create a generative AI image. Y'all. So welcome to Adobe Express for Education. What is this, like 4.0, 2.0?
I love this. I love this. I love this.
Exciting.
And there's a huge reason why I love this. Martha, can I share?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, so one of my biggest things is like if we're going to be using AI and we're going to be using it as in like an AI 2.0 version, then we need to make it seamless. And one of my like favorite versions of using generative AI pictures has been talking about storytelling. And you can create any story that you want. And what I really enjoy seeing students do is when they use a generative AI feature rather than going to Google. And as a former middle school teacher, like when you get kids on the Google, it is a dangerous world when you try to do an image search. And even whenever you try to do an image search inside of Express, they don't always, they're like, well, I can't find my photo. Like I'm looking for a specific thing and I can't find it. So when you just cut out all of that like searching time and then you allow students to really amp up their prompting skills, that's AI literacy. And then you allow them to get creative and to include details. So one thing that I've loved doing with students is when they use an image generator is they will like not include so much detail and then they'll hit generate and they're like, well, this isn't what I wanted. And I'm like, well, you've got to be specific and add those details. And then we're having our third grade students going back into their prompt and reprompting and adding in those details, which they would have always left out in their writing. So that was one thing that seeing that translation from like, okay, I click enter, I see it right away. So that instant gratification to then move into their writing process, like such a game changer event. So this is so exciting for me.
It is a game changer and the ability to oftentimes I don't hear about SAMR very often anymore. I feel like that's not something that comes up, but oftentimes we're just replacing with technology. And what I love about this is it really helps us go to a deeper level that we wouldn't be able to do otherwise. Like this is allowing students to think on a whole other level and for us to get a glimpse into the way that they process and a way for them to create in a confident way, especially as like someone that's not the best artist or traditional artist where I can draw. This gives me that confidence that I may not have had otherwise. So I was kind of typing while you were talking. I can do two things at once, I think. But I was loving what you were saying. And what's really cool too now is when you start writing in your prompt, I don't know if you've noticed this, it gives you options in the way that Firefly does. So that it brought in some prompt suggestions now. So I started off just thinking Stargirl. I know it's not, I'm taking it in a literal way, but reading in outer space, dreamy landscape. And then I was like, oh, with the beautiful Milky Way came up as a prompt. And then you can look down here, reading in outer space, beautiful Milky Way and the stars astronomy theme. That could be really neat too. So I like that you can toggle on and off the suggestions now. And then again, over here, playing around with some things, the style, you can upload your own images. So students draw on their own and they can upload their own pictures here. You can also have it mimic their cartoon style or their pencil drawing style, or even mimic like composition. So if I have an outline of a character or something, it will mimic that character format, which is neat. But
I love
because
that. And I love using it. I've had even students like upload their pictures so that they could be like, can this character look like me as a kind of character, which has been super fun.
talk about what a great way to start your school year too, like that identity piece of being able to see yourself in your work. Oh my gosh, that's so cool. And then because this is going to be our book report up at the very top, we're replacing that image. This is just, I don't want too much detail. I want it to kind of be in the background and not take center stage. So I'm going to leave it as is for a minute, but just know that there are other styles that you can go through that we could spend a lot more time on. But we have other Adobe Lives from Adobe for Education that you can go and check more on that on our playlist. Let's click generate and I'm going to see what pops up. I have high hopes for
So,
this.
so while you're waiting, Rebecca from the chat had talked about how she used generative AI in web pages, and she was super excited because she's like, it's going to definitely save her a lot of extra steps. And then she said, so here's a great pro tip for everybody listening, is she used it with a science teacher for the end of a unit study tool. So now the images are going to be even easier to integrate and seamlessly integrate. So, oh my gosh, I'm so excited about how beautiful these images are popping through, Martha.
This is gorgeous.
Look
And
at that.
I'm such a fan. There are some things too, just some pro tips over here. I tend to like the button with the little thumbs up or the thumbs down, and it
Oh.
just helps train the algorithm a little bit better on what you're looking for. So this one is clearly a vibe and something that I was going for. So I'm going to click that. You can keep clicking through if you'd like to, but I'm going to click on this one. And then if you do that and click generate, it will mimic that and give you variations of the same image too. But I'm going to go as is because we could probably go down a rabbit hole with this. But I just love this little human sitting here on the rock, looking out into space and all of that. If I wanted to, we could be much more specific with Stargirl and Susan and, like who the character is. So just know that that's an option. So, oh, how cool.
Look at that. Oh my gosh. Just like the clarity and how crisp. Like that is just something that I don't know. That is something that is inside of Adobe that I absolutely love with using generative AI. Because sometimes if you have kiddos, and that's another reason why I love it, just boots on the ground experience with students, is there are not all of the privacy policies checking the box for students to be able to use
Mm-hmm.
generative AI features, but this is housed right inside of Adobe. So then you have all of those privacy and protections put in place. And that is one of my favorite things to see, is because like a lot of times when you have kids try to leave a platform, you don't know with privacy and
Mm-hmm.
protections, COPA, FERPA violations, like that's all put here inside of the platform. And so, mwah, like chef's kiss, I had to, as a, the technology side of this, of me, I was like, I had to share that. Love that.
No, I appreciate that insight because, it's so important to know like how certain features resonate with people. And I'm sure someone out here is also like, oh my gosh, Stevie, I didn't know that. Okay, so y'all, I do this all the time. I do as I say, not as I do. And so remember to go back and title all of your projects, y'all. So Stargirl,
What was it Anne earlier was saying? She was name on your paper, name on your paper. She had a little
I'm
sing
telling
song,
you.
and that was amazing.
She also taught kindergarten, and I kind of feel like every middle school and high school teacher needs to go teach kindergarten for like a couple weeks. And you will learn so much about like time management and engagement and differentiation. There's so much that I learned going down and then back up.
And
Anyway,
bodily functions.
yes,
Martha, we've got a
100%.
question in the chat.
Ooh,
So
let's go.
it was a question from, I think Behance. Can you create QR codes that link to your templates?
Oh my goodness. I love that. And yes, we can definitely do that. So actually, Stevie, let's wrap up this section and we can actually show how we could do this. So
Perfect.
let's say Stevie and I did the best book report ever. We're done. We went through and we added in this is our reflection and it is awesome.
It is
And
certainly awesome and amazing.
we could do quotes here and all of the things and more things. And so you can just go through. Your kids are going to get so into this, y'all. And the way that their personalities show up is just phenomenal. But you can replace other images that are already here and all that kind of stuff. So we're going to pretend this is done. Okay. I'm going to go and share, publish to web. And I think we were asked, can you share a QR code, correct?
Correct.
To a remix template or just a template. There are two different ways that you can share out a link now in web pages. This came at the tail end of last year, so you may have missed it. This isn't one of the official ones that we are going to talk about today, but you can toggle on allow others to remix. So if I built out a book report, let's say as a teacher, I wanted to make sure that every student that was doing whatever report I've asked them to do have this header, and this header. I could build out that template and then toggle on this allow others to remix and click create link. Now my students can take this link and it will kind of like in a Google Doc, like force a copy where they can go in and remix and then it's theirs. They own it and it won't edit mine.
And
So
I love that availability because sometimes just giving kids like that outline, that start, like what you talked about at the beginning, just giving them that starting point. And sometimes teachers, we're standards aligned, right? So we're like, well, here are the standards that we have to hit. So yeah, creating a story would be fun if I had time, but what if I had a story? What if I had them create a story from a different character's perspective and maybe even a different time and the timeline of events that happened. Like that's my fifth grade standard. So if I can start to say like, here are your headings, these are the things you have to do, and I have a rubric off to the side that's going to measure that academic success on that, like what a much better and more fun kind of project to have students do rather than just having them write out as an essay form of saying, describe this story through a different perspective. Like having them have this insight and having the different pictures, just like so exciting here. I'm getting stoked. Okay, I'm gonna let
oh
you
my
keep.
gosh. I am even more stoked because of this remix. And if you missed it, I click share. You can go through publish to web, either remix or don't remix. So just be careful with your kids too. Just FYI, if they're sharing out their published work, it's better to not have that remix on. So that way, like things don't happen when people are out. Plus, it helps their ownership piece of that. So there's some conversations to have around that, just to be aware. So I'm going to click copy. We're taking a side quest because we were asked about QR codes. So I went back to the home page. Remember, you can always click the A in the top left-hand corner to get back. And you can go, actually, is it under create now? It is. Create and then generate QR code. And I'm just going to paste in that link. And now I can kind of play around and make these little QR codes.
And I love the QR generator that's available in here because
Cool.
how many ones that are free and it's like ad city up in there. Like you're got all of these ads flowing all around and when you try to get your kids like and then these look clean and professional. Like I know some of them like have like little things around them and I'm just like, like this is clean, this is professional and you're not going to have to worry about your kids going to an environment that'll shoot a bunch of ads at them too.
100%. And something else that's new that wasn't on our topic list, but since we're taking a side quest, when students create a web page, we talk about authentic audiences all the time in education and like how important it is for students to feel seen and heard in the classroom, but also for others outside of the classroom to be able to see and hear their unique stories. And so let's say Stevie and I just finished our book report. We're really proud of this. We want other people to see it too. We just created a QR code. Now I could download it, but then what am I actually going to do with that? And so let's pretend we have curriculum night coming up. And so I've created my QR code, and now I can go and open an editor and I can build out a whole other little thing for me to print off. So we could do Star Girl.
And what I love about this, so as you're going through this editing, what I love about this is that you are putting students at the forefront of their knowledge base and sharing that. So rather than putting it all on the teacher and saying like, okay, you have to come up with everything and share about what all of your students are going through, whenever you allow students to kind of have their capabilities of being able to share out. And another thing that I love is I'm like, I love posters. I'm here for posters, but I love the availability to add a QR into it because you make it interactive. So I feel like sometimes we're just like, okay, I'm postered out. Like, what can I do with that? When you allow that capability of interactivity with it, this is just, again, I think it's just such a great use and such a great tool to be able to kind of amplify, to make that more like flat, if you will, project
Mm-hmm.
to really get some interactivity with it.
I just started down a rabbit hole thinking if you do breakout EDU, if you do any sort of differentiation,
Yeah.
building out web pages and things like that, the way that I used to do in Google Sites, like I could now do in here too. And it's all in the same ecosystem, which is like lovely. Okay, so I am thinking curriculum night. I want to be able to share this out with parents and our community who's coming in for our curriculum night. And so this is the finished product. We've created a QR code, and now we're just going to print off almost like a gallery of images so that our folks that are coming in can scan and interact with their work in real time. So quick and easy. I can now download this and print this off. And so,
And look, like I've got
oh,
Mother on, but I scanned it and
God.
then I even signed in as guest. So like I don't even have to have an Adobe Express account. So that's also what's like amazing about these web pages is you don't have to have an account because sometimes if that was going to be the barrier between you and your community, like I just pulled it up and then I'm seeing and I'm, you know, scrolling through and seeing all of the amazing tools. And then I have a button on the top that says remix this. So then if I wanted to, I could even go through and remix it at that time. So I don't know, that just made me really happy, Martha. Thanks for sharing.
Oh, that's so sweet. Thanks for that, Stevie. And I was also thinking, like, for PD, I don't know how many tech coaches or
Mhm.
librarians we have in here, but how cool would that be too? Is like a little playground for teachers,
Yeah.
like participate and then be able to remix their own and take it back. So all right, y'all, that was a lot. We did do a slide quest, and I hope that answered your question, friends. But we're going to keep moving on. I'm going to spend just a smidge of time on this next feature, and that is themes. Just got a huge update. And so, just to come back full circle, we had someone mention at the beginning, was it Rebecca? I can't remember who mentioned, is this the theme editor? And y'all, if I go to build a web page now, and I'm actually going to go to business or portfolio and create my own portfolio. So I spent the majority of my educational career in middle school and high school. Portfolios is huge. We have high schoolers who are building out portfolios for internships, for college applications, for the workforce after they leave, all like recruitment for sports, a million different things that they may be creating these portfolios for. And so this is a really nice update. But also as a teacher, Stevie, I tend to be a little OCD. I like my hex codes. I don't, most of y'all probably know this about me. I like my hex codes. I like my color palettes. I like my fonts being the same
Yeah.
and all of that because when you're building a brand and a cohesive look to something, people identify that with you. And so, as a teacher, you probably have a newsletter in some way, shape, or form, or you have a school or district newsletter that you build out. So, this is perfect for that. So, I'm
That is
going
absolutely perfect. And to piggyback on that, we actually use Adobe Web Pages in my district for our middle school for that weekly parent newsletter. So there is a parent newsletter that goes home every Friday from Zionsville West Middle School, and we use Adobe Express. And we got so much great content like back from it because they were like, oh my gosh, I can click on the links. I can go here. It'll allow me to go here. And it had that theme throughout the entire flow of the web page, and we just got so much great feedback from it with talking about with like our different teachers. Oh my gosh, I'm on the
to love it.
page right now. So this would be my newsletter, and that was one of the things that I just absolutely loved about it. Like our parents, we actually got readability, which if you're ever like from like an admin perspective and you're like, please read my newsletters, like I just want you to read this so I don't have to email you later per my last newsletter. So the fact that it like flowed so beautifully, especially on mobile, like that was one of our like big wins. So we've definitely continued to do these, and we're going on year 3 now of Adobe websites. So love it.
I just love that too. And you can add pro tip if you're in that position, you can go into your files and create projects. So that way you can collaborate with everybody and have all of your newsletters in one place. And especially if you have people that kind of come and go to when you have people who either retire or get promoted to other positions or leave the county for the many different reasons that people do, being able to have a project where everything's in one place so that is not reliant on one person, but also makes it more collaborative is great. All
Martha,
right.
we literally just had that happen. Like, so we are just now transitioning. And so I'm the one creating them, but I'm also
So good.
onboarding others. But it's like all of the newsletters are all in one project, all in one file folder. So it's like, well,
There you go.
what did we tell the middle schoolers to do at the beginning of last year?
Yeah,
And it's all saved right there. So yes,
perfect.
co-sign on that.
I love your face. It's gorgeous. It's
I'm
now
like,
sitting here in the newsletter,
can we
but
scroll? Can we scroll? This is just like too much TV on one page. There we go. It's
you
perfect.
can scroll. They said hello and welcome. And then, y'all, the theme updates are so cool. So I'm going to click on theme over here. And it currently has themes. And then you can pick and choose the ones that are already there. It is slowly rolling out. So if you're not seeing it, just keep an eye out on these things. But I can go and I can select a different brand. See, it's being funky today, y'all, but it is a slow rollout. The themes are going to be there. And then you can go in and you can edit just like you could on a normal project. The headers, the fonts, the logos, you can match all of that together. A little bit of a pro tip too. If you've ever been on Adobe Fonts, you can upload a picture of a font and it will mimic the font for you.
I had no idea.
It is the coolest thing. Are you okay taking another side detour?
Of course I am. Let's go.
And then up at the very top, when you click search, there's a little icon
There
and
it
you can
is.
upload, let's
Oh,
say I have something like this. Y'all, my upload button just, man. Okay, there we go. Oh, don't want to do that. Sorry, y'all. Awkward. Anyway, Adobe fonts, you can upload your own image and then you can look at your own fonts, which is so cool because if you have people who leave the county or if you're working with a conference or something like that and you don't always know what font they used or like a T Swift album or something, you can go in and look up what font it is, which is so cool. All right.
I love
So,
that. And I love like the background of that because like whenever you're talking to students, like there's your AI literacy. So I know sometimes we hear that as
mhm,
educators where you're like, I know I'm supposed to teach the thing. How do I teach it? And you're like, that's AI in the background scanning the document and then being able to produce it and again. And so that's kind of one of those, again, like when you're like, okay, one more thing I've got to be in charge of, this AI literacy component. But these are these little moments that you can just like put that little nugget in there to be able to like click that box, check that box, and say, okay, I think my students are going to be future ready because they understand how AI works in the background.
that.
So Rebecca just said, I needed you yesterday for that, Martha. That is amazing.
Oh, I'm glad that we can help you today. If only we could go back in time. But now you know for the future, and it is one of my favorite features, probably of all time from Adobe. So, keeping us on track today, our third update is probably like hand in hand with my number one that I shared today. Y'all, I don't know how you can pick and choose. It's like picking and choosing your own children. You just can't. So I'm going to go in and I love this history report one. So I'm going to go in here and we're going to do some type of report. Let's think through this. Let's see. We are doing a civil rights unit in Georgia by my computer's being so funky. And we're going to do Civil Rights in Georgia by Izzy. They're doing a research project in eighth grade social studies. And so they're going through and they're doing a bunch of research on the back end, looking at primary and secondary sources. They're analyzing the primary sources and they are analyzing the impact of the civil rights movement in Georgia on 2025 current political structure. It's a very fascinating unit. I
Sounds
don't know
like
if
it.
I know it's so cool. Actually, y'all should come observe this class. It is so neat. But just keeping it low key just for a minute. This is so cool because again, you can go and replace images and things like that. And you may not always have images in your state. We are very lucky in Georgia to have like the library, the Georgia Library of Congress. And so they're like able to have images and you can access all these primary sources that way. And it's free for all students in Georgia through Galileo and things like that. But not every state has that. So having the generative AI option is really great too, because you can kind of use the primary sources to bring people to life and situations to life. But I don't know, Stevie, people don't usually work in isolation, right? Like in your class.
Yeah. And actually, that's one of those things like whenever I see like all the LinkedIn studies, that their employers are looking for, and especially like those Forbes country, like, top 20 companies, they're
Yep.
always looking for like collaboration. So
Yep.
yeah, it's always having that like just one single person working on it at a time definitely isn't very futuristic.
For sure. And so, if we're talking about collaboration, we need to make sure that we're offering students the opportunities to actually collaborate. Like, what does that look like? And even Stevie and I preparing for today, you can go in on any type of doc nowadays and you can comment back and forth, tag each other, leave comments, like all that kind of stuff. And now we can do that in web pages.
Ooh.
And y'all, I'm just so excited for these updates. So on the top right hand corner, click that little speech bubble type thing. And now I can go in and add comments. So if your students haven't played around with this, you can invite collaborators. So I can go in and invite other people to comment or to edit. I'm going to keep it on edit. Of course, you can put a message, but oftentimes we're not going to see that if your kids don't have access to email. But I'm going to invite them to edit. And now that person can come in here and we can work in real time, add comments, tag each other, and go back and forth on that. So, hi, let's think through. Oh, y'all. Double screens, double screens. Think through the Gen AI image we want to use. Ideas on keywords. And then what's really cute, we can go in and add little emojis now. I can tag
So
the
fun.
people directly and then submit. And that's going to pop up right there, which is really cool.
I love this because I'm going to be honest, as much as I've loved web pages and especially in the newsletter capacity that we're using it at the middle school, I'm like if I was in there editing, kicked everybody out. Like I was, and
Yeah.
nobody else was able to join it. So the fact that this is in there, that is such a 21st century skill. Like when we're talking about that collaborative component on there. And what's also great is because you're allowing students to have that kind of peer review. So back in
Yeah.
my day, it was like always important to have kids like read through the essays, give them feedback. But this is one of those like real life, real scenarios of you're being able to have that collaborative event with
Yes.
students and with children to be able to make them understand like, okay, here's how I collaborate, but this is what it looks like digitally. And this is something that they're going to do for the rest of their lives.
If you saw up in the top right hand corner, there we go. When you can go into your just this is my work account. Just know this is not what it normally looks like. You can click on this is how your kids are probably going to access this. Is they're going to see the little alarm bell go off with notifications. You click on that and you can find anytime something shared with you or you're tagged in something or someone leaves a comment, you can see that. And you can see I just left myself a comment here. Um, and so you can kind of see how different accounts can work in that way, which is
You are
cool.
just ramping yourself up. I love that. And you know,
Listen,
you just gave me the inspo here to like go look at my notifications. And then I have somebody that's making like a club video for the entire Zionsville West Middle School. And they just commented and they were like asking me to kind of help them with video editing. So we talk about like
perfect.
real collaboration and being able to comment back and forth like, yes, like these are the skills that we need. And I love seeing this inside of Adobe. This is amazing.
Oh, I love that. Okay, affirmations. You have to affirm yourself and other people, friends. But also, so some of the other things I've been thinking about, especially with math and science, just because it's a little more difficult for me.
Yeah.
I've always, you and I are similar, humanities based. So, like, the mathing doesn't always want to math for me. But I was just thinking of how nice that would be for math teachers to having that comment section to be able to go in if you're doing some type of math journal or like math in the real world type web page where they're analyzing how they see math in the real world and going in and commenting on some of those pieces too. So just
And
saying
I
it's
love
not
that. Yeah, because you know,
always for humanities.
and a lot of times, like I think the biggest thing that I hear from my math teachers, and I taught math as well with fifth grade. I just when I moved into the middle school for the last 3 years of teaching, then I was strictly humanities. But something that I always heard kiddos say is like, "When will I ever use this? When will I ever use this? When will I ever use this?" And so I would have loved to have them to build out a web page and have them seek those opportunities of like, where do you see this in the real world? And then I would honestly even have my students use an AI large language model and have them be
Yeah.
like, where can I find this in the real world? And then build out a web page so that they can make those connections and make those understandings. And so I see some claps going on in the chat. So I guess that resonated with some of you. So glad to see that.
Oh my gosh. Stevie, you just dropped so many truth bombs and so many insights when we have chats. So thank you for that. Okay, so thinking through of some other ways that we share out. So when we click that share button, we can publish to web, we can create that link. Just so you know, we can also assign this directly to our students, which is really cool. So if you have classrooms set up, I highly suggest you do that. If you don't, it just makes it so much easier for folks, for you, for students. And again, if you're building out these templates for the kids, especially for something as robust as a research project or something like that, you will want very specific touch points where you're giving feedback and giving comments to kids so that they can keep improving. Instead of sharing it as a remix link, you can also assign this directly to classrooms, which is really cool.
Oh my gosh, can we take a moment for classrooms? Because this is one of those components where when you talk about like the process of learning, I have classrooms turned on. I use it all the time. My teachers use it all the time. Something that I love about classrooms is that it will even give you the progress. So I don't know about you, but we have a learning management system in our district of Canvas. And there's times where like the kids will do the thing. They just won't click the turn in button, or they won't upload it, or they upload document 5,627. And I'm like, that was not what we were looking for. And so, what I love about classrooms is once you build out a template and you click that assign to assign, and so Martha's doing a great on demo here, where then you can see the progress of all of the students. So they're already in your class. You just simply share a link to all of your students. You can push it out to students, or you can have them scan a QR code. Then they join your class automatically through there. They start working on it. And then you can start the feedback cycle right there inside of classrooms too. So, like, I'm going to stop because I know you're going to talk about some really amazing things, especially gallery down below. So I'm gonna let
Right?
you fly with that.
No, I love it. And I wish I had student work to show, but the gallery feature is probably my favorite part of classrooms. We talked a smidge about authentic audiences before, and depending on your privacy policy in your district, you may or may not be able to like really share your student work out with the world. There's a lot that goes into that, right? But at least being able to toggle on the gallery so your students can see each other's work adds a little more, of that audience feel. It gives students that satisfaction of being able to share their work with others, but also it's so important to get feedback from others. And I can give feedback all day as an educator, but getting that feedback from my peers and then allowing your peers to go through that process of knowing how to give feedback and give and receive constructive feedback. There's so many skills that go alongside that, and like soft skills that's so critical in today's day and age. So being able to model that, there's just a million reasons to toggle on that gallery. So
Agreed. And what I do love about it too is because you might have the students that might be a little more like behind the scenes. They're like, I don't want mine shown to everybody else. So what I also have really enjoyed about classrooms is I tell them, I'm like, if you click submit, then you can see everybody else's work. But if you don't want yours shown, then don't click submit. I can still see it. I can still grade it. I know that you'll be done. So then that way that you allow those students that really want their privacy and that maybe don't want to be on blast, then they don't have to be. But then it gives them the spotlight, the students that really enjoy it and want to share and collaborate. It does allow them to have that space in there. So I do love that capability too.
oh, I love that so much. Oh, it makes me so teary-eyed. I used to be the quietest human in class. I sat at the back of the class. I put my head down. I did my work all day. But at the end of it, you still want to feel like somebody saw you. It doesn't matter how
Yeah.
shy you are, you still want to feel seen. And little ways like that make a huge difference. There are two buttons up here too that sometimes people don't play with, but there is the view and the present button. So you can
Yes.
preview. And so oftentimes people will they're like, how do I actually like see what this looks like? I can't like make sure the link works if I include a button or a hyperlink or something like that. And the way that you do that is clicking that eye up there, and then you can go through and you can check your hyperlinks or your buttons if you put those in there, make sure it goes to the correct
And I
place.
just want to like just
Mhm.
take a pause of how beautiful that looked when you scrolled. So like
Yeah.
notice that. So everybody like notice like how it looks whenever she scrolls. Like it moves it down and it's so interactive because it's a web page. And that's one of those things like our newsletters like that are so just like PDF written, right? And they're just like ugh, like they don't have that movement and style. Like
Yeah.
that availability for it to look really pretty cool and have that seamless capability was the reason why we stayed with Adobe Express Web Pages because our parents were actually reading it. They were like, this looks really cool. And so I've never in, I don't know, 15 years of education have I heard a principal get an email and say, those newsletters look really cool. Like I really enjoy how they look on my phone. And I'm like, wow, we
Mhm.
just about it to be not only opened, but read, and communication from like building that bridge from school to home is just so important. So I just, yes,
It
yes, I just
is.
loved that.
It is so important. And then one other thing that kind of goes with what we were talking about, just privacy wise, there is password protection now. So like if you have certain students that need their items protected, that they're not allowed to be shared out publicly, or even if you have a club that you're trying to protect, but you need one stop shop of all your information and things like that, the password protection is now there. I was going to show how to download as PDF. It's not quite ready there yet, but I'm so excited. We have two updates that are coming by the end of the month that I've heard that are on the horizon. And that is being able to export as a PDF so you could download directly as a PDF. And oh my gosh, there's so many classroom applications that I could have for that, or double dipping with like OneNote and annotations. And like, there's just, yeah, I could, there's a lot. But also being able to add table of contents and hyperlinking. So when that feature comes out, when we can hyperlink to different sections, we're gonna have to come back, Stevie, and like do a whole nother run through of that, which is going to be so cool. Um, but we have one more feature we want to share because this is like the cream of the crop, the top thing that we wanted to share today. And that is all the updates to guided activities that happen this summer. So the homepage got a facelift. It's gorgeous, darling, gorgeous.
Gorgeous.
I love it. But also, guided activities got a facelift too. So if you click on that Learn tab, this is how I go. But you can also go to Educator Resources. It's also on the homepage. There's always going to be the monthly challenge right here. But that Learn tab for teachers, guided activities, and there's all the ones from last year, plus the new ones that happen this summer. And y'all, there, I can't see. Oh my gosh, right here, design a book report right there. There's also one for
Love
setting
that.
up a class portfolio. And these are web page specific guided activities. So I know we started today talking about that blank page and how overwhelming that can be. Even with a template, sometimes that can feel overwhelming and you don't know where to start. Click that guided activity, assign that to your kids, go through it yourself, even. But the guided activities, if this is the first time you're playing with them, man, this is amazing. You can pop that video out. You can play it in real time. I know the sound isn't going to work for us, but you can play that video in real time, have everybody watch it together, assign it through Canvas or assign it through Google Classroom, whatever LMS that you're using. How cool is that, Steve?
That is one of like I absolutely when this came, I was like so excited. So one of the reasons why I absolutely love guided activities is I feel
Mm-hmm.
like the biggest pause point for people is they're like, okay, well that sounds great, but like I don't know how to do an AI image
Yeah.
generated. I don't know how to use a magic eraser. I don't know how to build the web page. I don't know how to do those things. And so what guided activities do is it is a video tutorial, very concise, very specific, and they have on-screen demos that take you through the steps of how to do it. What I always do, and like I have a technology leadership group, and I
Yeah.
do these guided activities all the time. And what I do is I literally just put the video up, I blow it up on my projector screen, and I'm like, okay, boys and girls, well, we're going to go ahead and eat our lunch. And as we're eating our lunch, we're just going to watch this video. Like, why would
Mm-hmm.
I take the time to explain it and stumble through it whenever, like, we have an expert inside of Adobe that's going through and giving those step by step. And so not only do you have that as a teacher, but when you assign it to your students, they also have access to that video. And so that is one of
Mm-hmm.
those, like, I think hidden gems because then a lot of kids, like when I tell kids, I'm like, when how I find out things is I YouTube it. I
Yeah.
literally look on YouTube and I watch a tutorial and then I figured out how to like fix that teacher's laptop or fix my garbage disposal. True story. And
Yeah.
so I was like, those little things, like if you're teaching students to have those skills, like watch a video, pause it, do the thing, like, I don't know. That is, I think, such 2.0, like higher on the SAMR model, getting them to learn themselves. Just, okay,
Yes.
I'm going to stop. I could go on
No,
for days about guided
I
activities.
feel like we could go on forever, and that's okay. Because this is, again, the best feature, in my opinion, of how we get people started and building that confidence. There's one other thing on here too that I don't think we mentioned, which is the captions. And so my husband teaches ELL learners as well in eighth grade social studies. And so being able to have the captions where you can turn on Spanish or English is really great. I think they're working towards more languages, which would be great. So I just wanted to let y'all know that that's there, and it's quick and easy too. I can click that share activity, copy that link, and put that wherever I need it to be for students to have access to it. And then last but not least, this little light bulb, I can go back to videos and I can see and walk through it again, because we all know sometimes we need multiple rewatches. And so being able to click on that learn tab will just bring that back up.
Yeah, we all know that I was not able to fix my garbage disposal without watching that video a couple of times, you
I
know?
feel like that has a story.
It sure does.
Oh my gosh,
But I
I hope.
fixed it. I fixed it and I didn't have to call a handy person. Um, there was one of those moments. Like we had
Yeah.
just moved into our new house, new construction. With new construction always comes new opportunities and new issues, as if you've ever built before. And that was one of those things I'm like, seriously, this is day two. And I was like, my handyman had just left because he hung all of the things. So that was it. But I watched some videos. I taught myself how to do it. And that's the whole point of these guided activities is teaching
Mm-hmm.
students how to do it. And then it takes the pressure off the teacher. Like, you are busy. You have enough to worry
Yeah.
about and to realize, like, you don't need to be learning the platform. And that was something that I think a lot of educators didn't get. Like, I got kids onto different platforms that I still fully don't understand. But my kids did because there were these tutorial videos built in. Now, it's not like you can just stick a kid on a device and be like, figure it out, but those
Mm-hmm.
videos were built in with students in mind. And so like those are one of those keys, like don't take it on if you don't have to. The
100%.
videos.
And also the ability to come out of fixing a garbage disposal and feeling that confidence that you're able to do that on your own is so important. And so congrats to you. And congrats to all your students for learning something new this year, because I know you're going to take all of this back and use it in your classroom today or tomorrow or next week. And we're so happy and excited for y'all. So, Stevie, if you had to pick one feature today to start with tomorrow, which one would you choose?
I would say my favorite is definitely the commenting. Like I love the availability
Mm.
to have that, ongoing assessment and that ongoing conversation between students and also that, feedback cycle between educator and student too as well. I think those are just one of those like really needed skills and like you had mentioned to really get kids to hone in on, one of those here's what you're doing great and then here's a wish, having them being able to communicate like that I think is perfect. What about you?
I think I still have to go with AI, generative AI creation, because to me, that lowers the barrier of entry for students and helps build that confidence. And that's why I got into this in the first place, is to help students build their confidence with creativity, because that's the next step for how they're going to participate in life and be active and engaged citizens of the world. It all starts with like that creative and critical thinking skill. And so we want every kid to walk away from our class feeling good about themselves, good about the things that they're doing and putting out into the world, and hopefully get them in the right direction to create with purpose. So, yeah, I just have loved this past hour with you, Stevie. We went through tons of updates. Let's think through. We talked about AI image generations. Now
Yeah.
here we have the ability to create with our peer commenting, which was phenomenal.
Yes.
The theme editors coming, PDF export, and then last but not least, that guided activity, y'all. Like 5 fist bump things to take back with you. It's going to be amazing. Um, and so, with that, I think it's almost time for us to log off. So, our challenge to y'all today is to pick one of these new features to go out and try yourself or try with your students this month. We hope that you'll share your results with hashtag Adobe EDU Creative so we can celebrate you and your creativity. And of course, your amazing scholars that you support on a daily basis. So, thank
Well,
you all so
yes.
much.
Well, thank you everybody too. It looks like we've had about like 30 to 40 people kind of in and out of YouTube Live. So thank you so much for like logging in and spending your precious time on learning so that you can help amplify your students' creativity and learning on themselves. So good on you for like taking the time to spend some time with us this afternoon or evening, wherever this lands in your time zone. It has been such a pleasure to be able to join you. So, and
Oh,
Martha, always, thank you for inviting me. This just turned into like an amazing like woman versus woman, like just not woman versus, but like woman lifting other women up. And I think like you are a girl's girl, so I am here for that. So I just wanted to
oh,
thank you. This was just such a great way to end my afternoon.
oh, thank you so much for being here, Stevie. And if you liked our hype girl mentality, come back for Adobe Live every week. You can find us at adobe.ly/Adobe Live EDU. Sorry, it got stuck in my throat, y'all. Adobe.ly/Adobe Live EDU. And we will see you every week. And Stevie, just love you so much. Thanks for being here today.
Thanks for having me. Have a great day.
All right, bye, y'all.